Welcome to the show, everyone. My name is Adam, and this is Get Piped, where we, well, love to pipe. And I have been gone, but not forgotten. Well, maybe forgotten. But alas, I am here, ready to pipe. You. Gonna pipe you. Your hero amongst some of the worst years of all time. Well, the 40s were pretty bad. And the 50s. 60s were pretty bad, too, let's be honest. Civil War. Let's chalk a few up there in the 1860s. There was a lot of genocide between 1800 and 2000, wasn't there? Two, carry the 1, 5. 1349 bubonic plague. Bad one. 33% of Europe. Smallpox, 1520. Add that to the list. I had to Google this, but 536. This isn't a history lesson, but I guess like a volcano erupted. I'm paraphrasing. And then it was a bunch of ash in the sky for like 2 years straight. It was just dark. Crops just stopped existing. Then there was 541 bubonic plague again, but for the first time, technically. It was like a different kind of bubonic plague, but it was still bubonic plague. 100 million people were just Byzantine Empire. See you later. More like Byzantine Empire. Okay, so 2020, 2021, kind of not the best years of all time ever. Say top 114 worst years of all time. Definitely the worst in the past decade. 2010 had a lot of natural disasters. Top 115 worst years of all time, but I am here, your hero, your recluse rising, and it's piping time. Today we're going to talk about how to actually smoke a tobacco pipe. Now, while my channel is quite small, I've had a number of people reach out to me and be like, hey, how do I do that? And then I'm just like, well, first you should put the thing in the pipe and the tobacco and a little smoke, and it matches, not a torch. It just didn't pan out. So we're going to make a video on it, and there's a dozen other videos you can watch. This is just the millennial annoying shite joke version. Okay, so what we have here is everything we need to start a pipe. A fine tin of tobacco, a sweet leather packing dish, a source of flame, matches work best. And by best, I mean worst. Nah, matches can yield a great smoke, but they're kind of a bitch. Got my tamper in the middle, got the pipe tool on the left, or a check tool, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of the gold standard. And then there's ye old thumb. And with all our stuff and things, we can now pack the pipe. There are several different methods that can be used to pack a pipe. And to simplify it, I'm going to put them into two categories. In the first category is the way I'm going to show you. And then in the other category is all the wrong ways. Only kidding, but I've seen some pretty weird methods of pipe packing. It's not that deep. It really isn't. Though to ensure my piping to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because we will do a video that covers, or several videos covering, all the different methods of pipe packing. Again, it's not that deep, but we'll check them out. We'll check them out here. We're going to do it for the science. Science. We'll check out the funny names. We'll compare them, the performance, the time, the speed. We'll do all that stuff. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. But for now, I'll show you old reliable. Packing a pipe is a delicate process. It can be rushed, but that would require some skill and a great deal of experience. I find, as well as many other fine ladies and gentlemen, namely the most experienced, that it's not only wisest, but best to pack the pipe slowly and deliberately. This piece is an integral component of what I call the ritual. Copyright that. Yeah, write that down. That could be our thing. That could be our thing. Copyright that. If you've seen my earlier video on why you should smoke a pipe, I go in length about how pipe smoking is more of a process. It isn't necessarily just about the physical act of smoking the tobacco. Now, it can be for some people, and that's fine too. But rather, it begins with selecting your pipe, choosing the tobacco you want to smoke, a good drink to pair it with. Then it goes down to the packing of the bowl, lighting the pipe, smoking the pipe, your breathing cadence, the cleanup and consolidation afterwards, and then thinking about your next smoke. What I'm getting at is this should be an enjoyable fragment of pipe smoking. And this is just my opinion. And if you disagree, you're wrong. Sorry. On to the method. Now, I've heard a ton of different names to call it. Call it what you will. I've heard the sprinkle method. I've heard the level method, layering method. It incorporates parts of the Frank method. I call it the gravity method because gravity makes sense to me. Call it what you will. There's no book. There's no tome. You can call it whatever you want. Gravity method, though, that's cool, right? Can we copyright that one too? Yeah, hey, add that one too. Add that one too. Put it to the list. Things we got to copyright. I don't even know how copyright works. The idea with this method is you allow gravity to assist you with your pack. Pack is kind of an aggressive word to use. It implies that you're kind of stuffing the tobacco in there. Whether a deliberate approach or a rushed approach, it has to be delicately packed. But come on, I'll walk you through it. First, we want to loosen up the tobacco, breaking up any clumps or packing from the tin or bag or jar, whatever you got it from. Already gonna throw a curveball at you. If your tobacco is too moist, you're gonna have a bad time. Oh, wise pipe smoking man. How do I know if it is too moist? That comes with experience. Aromatics, however, do typically ship moist, often too moist. This will ultimately make lighting the pipe and keeping the pipe lit rather difficult. It will also lead to accumulation of moisture into the shank, which gets you like this unpleasant gurgling experience. It sucks. There's no other way to put it, sucks. On top of that, overly moist tobacco typically fails to yield that flavor profile that you were looking for. Every single type of tobacco, whether it's dry, very dry, extra dry, very moist, kind of moist, every single step of this spectrum has a different flavor profile. It's a complex world, okay? You'll learn. Okay, but if your tobacco is too moist, you'll just feel, you'll know. Like, one, if you can't light the damn thing, and if you pick it up and it's like goopy, and if you squish it together and it stays really stuck together, it's moist. You know what moisture levels are. Spread it out over a plate, or you can keep it in the tin, and it's not as optimal, but spread it out and let the air just kind of dry it out a little bit. Master Pipe Man, how long? I don't know. Just look at it. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 30. I once had a tobacco that I mixed it, but it was so moist, I had to let it sit for it was probably like 4 or 5 days. Yeah, that was not ideal. But Master Pipe Man guy, what happens if it's too dry? If it's too dry, that's another story. We'll make a video on it. There's ways to rehydrate it, but it's doable and it's definitely worth it rather than just throwing it out. Another video. We don't have time now. We got to keep going. I got to teach you how to smoke the damn thing. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab a pinch of that tobacco and you're just going to make it rain. Just make it rain into that bowl. I do this several times while tapping the sides and using my thumbs to kind of press it from the sides into the bowl itself. You take from the tin again or from your dish and then you repeat. Eventually it fills up. Gravity fails us at this point and we need to take matters into our own hands. Or thumbs. This is a good point to differentiate my opinion from some other guys on YouTube and in the pipe smoking world. There's like this stigma that you can never put your thumb or your finger inside the pipe. I mean, don't jam your tobacco down in there with your fingers, but it's all right. It's gonna be okay. Some pipes are just really massive and tall, and just the idea of not being able to use your fingers to assist in the packing up that large bowl, that tall bowl, it's ridiculous. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't just throw your digits in there all willy-nilly, but don't be afraid to use your fingers to assist with the pack. It's definitely best to use the pads of your thumb while packing the pipe to assist you, as opposed to just jamming your finger in. However, in an attempt to not break the pipe community, it's okay to use your fingers, man. So now I start assisting the process with my fingers, typically my thumbs. This is where those thumb pads come into play. I'm continuously packing the tobacco from the sides using the thumbs, and then I'll use the pad of my thumb to kind of push it down a little bit. I'm moving my thumbs in a circle to try and evenly distribute the fine leaf into the bowl. As I alluded to earlier when we were talking about methods, the layer method, you can think about packing your pipe in layers. As you're filling your pipe, the bottom layer where we're using gravity is going to be fairly light, and then as each subsequent layer fills the pipe, it's going to be a little bit more packed as you go. Take it slow. Unfortunately, it's going to take repetition in order to get really good at it. Now that your pipe's full and hopefully adequately packed, or expertly, that was dumb. You're ready to seal the deal. What I do here is I put my thumb, the pad of my thumb, on top of the bowl, and I begin turning the bowl in a circular motion. I don't know where I saw this from. Maybe it was another YouTube video. Maybe it was some old guy in a smoke shop, but this works. This helps to intertwine the tobacco and prevent it from just falling out, as well as a final pack down past the rim. If your tobacco is spilling over the rim before you even light it, what happens when you put flame and oxygen together? It expands. You'll see even if you fill it halfway as you light it, the tobacco is going to rise. The actual air is going to get in there, the oxygen is going to get in there, and it's going to go up. You shouldn't have to press it down. Again, the pad of your thumb should just put it down just to where we need it to be. There should be a little bit of a sponginess, kind of like a spring to it. Now, before we light it, we got to test it. I will literally take a draw out of my pipe to see the airflow level. Here we're testing the amount of resistance with the draw. I've heard some people say it should be akin to like a soda. You don't want it like water. You don't want it like a milkshake where it's too thick, like where you really got to strain to get the air into your mouth. So they say soda. Soda in water is the same thing to me. It's the bubbles don't make it. If anything, it's like lighter because the bubbles, the more air. I don't know. What we can agree on is not a milkshake. If you got milkshake pipe, you got to restart the pack. Some people will say to use this pick and then try to like open up an air hole. It never works out. Just restart. It'll get the rep in and maybe you'll get it better the second time. What I like to say is it's supposed to be like a completely melted milkshake. Like you got a fire milkshake and you let it sit out on a hot summer day and you're like, should I drink it? Yeah, fuck it. So there's a little bit of resistance, but not too much. It goes in smooth. That's just like your pipe tobacco is supposed to be. Lighting the pipe itself is fairly straightforward and to the point, but there are some tips and tricks I can give you. Ideally, the perfect light would burn the tobacco evenly all the way through. Probably not going to happen. There's sometimes what's called tunneling, where only the center of the tobacco is being burned, and well, you get a tunnel. In my experience, the best method is to light the pipe in a circular motion. As you're lighting with that circular motion, you want to keep that motion constant. I find elongated draws deliver the necessary airflow to light your pipe properly. Once the pipe is lit, as we mentioned earlier, tobacco is going to rise. We needed to do the opposite, which is where the tamper comes into play. You'll lightly tamp the tobacco down into the bowl, typically using the weight of the tamper itself and maybe just a touch of pressure. What this does is it's sending the burning embers down onto the tobacco, and as you draw through the pipe, it's pulling that air, that oxygen down and continuing the burn process, thus yielding more smoke through the shank and the stem into your mouth. Think of like a reverse fire. You have your embers, you're kindling at the bottom, and as you stoke it with air, the air comes in, the oxygen comes in, and it blows your fire up. It's like that, but reverse, upside down in your pipe. This first light is often called the charring light or the false light. When you initially tamp down those embers, just because the fire hasn't been going long enough, the embers typically go out, your pipe goes out, and you'll have to relight, which is called the true light or light number 2. Ideally, this is your final light. In reality, probably not going to happen. That's like, you get a pipe, if you smoke a 45-minute pipe and you only lit it 2 times, 1 or 2 times, sometimes you can do 1, but you get 1 or 2 times. And if you're watching this and you're just learning, it's very unlikely that that will be your last light. As you smoke your pipe, you're to periodically tamp those embers down. You want to continue to make sure that those embers stay as close to that tobacco as possible to continue that burn cycle. If there's some space in between there, your pipe's gonna go out. If you neglect to tamp, too much ash and oxygen will accumulate in between your embers and the tobacco, and your pipe's going out. We want to keep the fuel going, so tamp your tobacco. When smoking a tobacco pipe, it's custom to draw the smoke into your mouth, taste it with your mouth and nose, and then release the smoke. Pipe tobacco was never intended to be inhaled like a cigarette, though some pipe smokers do enjoy the occasional and deliberate inhale of the smoke. There are no rules here, not a big rule guy, pipe as you please. As your mouth is first blessed with the sweet and rich flavor profiles of the pipe tobacco, you'll feel enriched. But spare yourself from haste. If you continue to chase that flavor, that wonder too fast, you'll only get diminishing returns. Essentially what happens is the smoke will begin to conceal the flavor of the actual tobacco. If you're puffing too fast, that smoke will begin to conceal the flavor, and the heat from the pipe will either, one, harm the pipe or maybe even your mouth. It is key to smoke slowly and deliberately, to find that balance between air in your lungs and drawing from your pipe. We call this the cadence. I try to get at least 3 to 5 breaths of air in between each series of draws. I then might draw 2 to 4 times in succession before my next breathing cycle. Now, I don't have this engraved in the old stone tablets, but it's just something that you kind of pick up with. I don't think about this when I'm smoking, at least not anymore. When I first started, I had to tell myself to slow down. Just think to relax, enjoy the experience. Use your nose to smell the burning tobacco and your mouth to taste it. Take breaks and welcome in the fresh air in between. Throughout the duration of the smoke, as we discussed, ash will accumulate in your pipe. In order to keep that pipe smoking, you must periodically tamp those embers and ash down. You're to keep the embers as close to the tobacco throughout the smoke to allow that process to continue. If you tamp too hard, you'll lose the necessary oxygen to keep the system going. If the smoke begins to thin, it's time to tamp. If the smoke begins to feel hot, it's time to take a break. The process continues until that pipe tobacco is completely burned up, or you decide to retire the pipe for the time being. You'll know the pipe is complete when the smoke itself starts to taste like literal ash or smoke, or maybe just lacks any of the volume of those flavor profiles that you were originally getting. Should you feel you're finished before actually finishing, fear not. You can tamp it down one last time, pour out any excess ash. Truly, even a day or 2 later, you can smoke that same pipe and the flavor is going to be different, but it still will be rather enjoyable. And alas, our wonderful experience comes to a close. if you're cashed out or don't wish to smoke the bowl later, use your pipe tool or what have you to discard what's left within the chamber. Now, once everything inside has been discarded, there's a couple maintenance things you can do. Don't worry about it. The best advice I can give you right now is just to let the thing sit. Go put it on the shelf. Don't remove the stem. Don't mess with it. Just let it rest for at least 24 to 48 hours for it to completely dry. This is kind of like the Guru custom to never smoke the same pipe within 24 hours, or you can smoke it a couple times throughout the day, but then you let it sit for at least 24 hours. In my experience, I generally fail to adhere to that custom. I smoke whichever pipe I want, whenever I want, and there are implications that come with that, some mostly all negative, but for the most part, it's not that big of a deal. Smoke the pipe you want, enjoy it, and we'll worry about the technical stuff in a later video. Just enjoy the damn thing. Grandpa from 1929 wasn't sitting there letting it sit for 22.6 hours, followed by a deep cleaning on the first Thursday of every month. It just didn't happen. He smoked the damn thing. But I will say, for optimal pipe longevity, pipe care, it's good to let it sit and rest and just not mess with it. But again, don't try to do any kind of crazy stuff once you're done smoking. Don't try to remove the shank. Don't try to, just let it sit. Just don't touch it. If you want to smoke it the next day, go ahead. The point has been driven. You understand. I'm being redundant. Okay, a long one for sure, but that, my friend, is how to smoke a tobacco pipe. Many more topics to come here on Get Piped, so I hope to see you along the way. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. Make me earn it. Please let me know in the comments. I do read every single one. If you have any questions or anything to add, maybe an insult, that's a great place for it. Before I go, if you want more pipe, you can check out my Instagram, get_piped. I also stream live video games, and we do chatting on twitch.tv/house. You know what that is. Come by, send me a follow. We'll talk about pipes. We'll talk about whatever. I've been playing some medieval games. It's been fun. Big cool. All links will be in the description below. Again, thank you so much for all the kind words from my past videos. I genuinely appreciate it. Much more to come. I'm working on it. Stay safe. That's it. Till the next piping, I'm out.